Today video is on Hot Chocolate GraphQL, JWT, access token verification, and the different techniques of the authorization in the GraphQL. Okay, in the first video we have explained the steps to generate the JWT access token inside of the GraphQL endpoint. Now, the first step in this video is we need to validate that access token when the user sends that access token as the authorization header when the user trying to consume the other secured endpoints. Okay, so in this video, our main targets are to verify the access token and to implement the different techniques that can be implemented in GraphQL for authorization to secure the another secured endpoints within the application. Okay. Before going any further, I want to mention that this entire session has been made as a blog. Everything that I am going to explain in this video has been already developed into this blog. So if you are interested to go through the code or copy paste the code snippets, you can check over the blog. The link will be available in the description under the video. Okay, you can check it if you want. Okay, now let's jump into our sample application. So till now, this application has functionality to generate only JWT access token. Now, if user want to consume secured endpoint on this on our application, he need to add that access token given by to him the server. He need to add that access token as the authorization header so that he can consume the secured endpoint. So till now we don't have any functionality to validate that the user passing token is valid or not. For that, we need to add some JWT barrier services so they can validate our encrypted JWT token that was posted by the user as an authorization header. For that, we need to install one NuGet library like Microsoft.asp.NET Core.authentication.jwt barrier. So please make sure to install to register the JWT barrier services in our startup class. If you are Visual Studio user, copy the command from Package Manager tab. Since I am using .NET CLA, I am going to copy this command. Now install JWT barrier package. Seems like installed. Let's check in project file. So Microsoft.ASP.NET Core Authentication JWT barrier has successfully installed. So now we need to register our barrier services. For that, let's go to startup file. Here we need to register our authentication process. In that authentication process, we need to define our authentication schema is JWT barrier schema type. For that, services dot add authentication. Okay. And here we will have overloaded method to specify the default schema name for authentication, and our default schema name for authentication is JWT bearer defaults. So that loads from our install package namespace and authentication name. Okay, we are over here. It is value is barrier. Okay, and we need to draw one more additional extension method from this add authentication, that is like add JWT barrier. Okay, here we need to configure our options. And now from the options dot token validation parameters, we need to initialize the token validation object. So let's reduce this naming of the object. So let's import the namespace and initialize the object. Okay. And here are the properties that we need to provide at the service registration so that those values can be used to validate our JWT access token. Few of them are like valid issuer. Okay, so for this valid issuer, we need to provide names like that we have already maintaining one JSON settings, right? While we are creating our JWT token, we have used a few settings from the JSON file. So say those same settings need to be added here so that it can validate the incoming JWT access token from the client. So for that app settings.json development JSON. So these so valid issuer should assign with this name. Valid issuer name. For that configurations dot get section and just pass this token setting strings, and we need the child property. For that we need to do get value and its type will be string and the name of the child property is issuer. Okay, so here we are assigning our uh, token settings from the JSON file, and we need to enable this valid issuer by using one more boolean property like validate comma, and now we will get validate issuer. So we need to set this true. So when we set this validate issuer true, then our authentication service will check the validate issuer value is matching with the registered value and the issuer that was resides in the encrypted access token. So like this we need to verify them. And another thing next is audience, right? Can do like validate audience. So similar fashion, I can get the value from the settings. So I am copy pasting this value and paste here. I will change the child property name for audience. Valid audience. Okay, now I need to set the boolean value for validate audience as well. Validate audience that need to be set to true. Okay, valid issue sign in issuer signing key. This value will be similar to our goto mutation. Okay, copy this symmetric key object. Okay, and come over here assign it. And we know to get the key value, we need to pass this inside of the get bytes. Here simply replace with key value. And this should be comma. So no need of valid issuer sign in key. Okay. So this should be enabled by validate issuer sign in key to boot. So if you observe, we are doing here in this JWT barrier schema authentication, we are registering token validation parameters in such a way that all the token settings. Okay, what are those settings? These settings which I am used inside of the my token generation method. See, if you observe here, this is our mutation method, right? Here for generating the access token, I have used same token settings. Okay, so same settings need to be registered in the startup so it can validate and assure that this token is valid token that user sending to the server. So in this way we can validate the uh, barrier token for our authentication. So that's about the registration of the add authentication technique. Okay. Next thing is, so next is we need to enable authorization on our resolvers. So here we don't have action methods, right? In GraphQL. So in this GraphQL to add authorization, we can do at the resolvers field level. So for that, we need one more library for uh, this authorization in GraphQL that is derived from the hot chocolate GraphQL library like chocolate GraphQL authorization you get search like that. Okay, not this classic hot chocolate authorization. Let's go for official docs. So here the security section authorization. So this is the, I think this one, hot chocolate ASP.NET Core authorization. Hot chocolate ASP.NET Core authorization. Okay, this is the required package for our hot chocolate authorization. Okay, so Visual Studio users copy this package manager command. I am dot using CLI command. So I am copying this one. Let's install the uh, hot chocolate ASP.NET Core authorization plugin. Looks like it is successfully installed. Let's confirm it. Let's go to our project file. So hot chocolate ASP.NET Core authorization has successfully installed. Okay. Now our main step is we need to register this service in our startup class services. For that, go to add GraphQL servers. In that, we can get one more extension method like add authorization. My apologies. Here it is by default showing 9.0.4, right? So let's install latest version, 11 standard latest version, hot chocolate latest version, because in old version, if you observe here, this authorization and directive need to be initialized. So, but that is deprecated in the new one, and I also working on latest version of hot chocolate that is 11.0.9. So I am reinstalling the NuGet package to 11.0.9 for authorization as well. So my apologies. Please update, reinstall that for new version. So it is updated. You can see here, right? So let's go to our startup file. I hope now it should come. Dot add authorizations. Okay. So this is the extension method that we need to register for the enabling authorization in the GraphQL endpoint. Okay, and so this is coming from 11, Hot Chocolate 11 version. Please remember that one. Now we have configured our validation services and GraphQL authorization services in our startup, and we need to register one more middleware on top of our authorization, that is .NET middleware app.authentication. Okay, just above the authorization header. So that's all about everything need to be registered for the startup file. Okay, next let's run our application. .NET watch run. Okay, and let's for now ignore this. Okay, let's remove this. Okay, so once we navigate to code, we have one fake query in our endpoint, that is like welcome query. So now to check our authorization process, I am going to add authorization for this welcome resolver method. That means only authenticated users only can access this welcome message. For that, we need to do everything in query objects type class. Okay, here we need to do authorization regarding that. First, without having any authorization, let's test our endpoint. Okay, let's test without any authorization our endpoint. So it is working perfectly. I am getting the welcome everyone, that is message from my server. Okay, so let's add authorization for this one. So for that we can do extension method like authorize. So this authorization will be applied on this field. Okay. So this is the implementation of the authorization in GraphQL. Okay. So let's save it and reload our play page and let's execute our query again. See, the current user is not authorized to access this resource. Auth not authenticated. This is the code that is returning from the server. So from this we can understand our resolver is protecting using the authorization extension method. So now any user to access this authorized endpoint, they need to use the JWT access token as the authorization header. For that, we need to first fetch the valid JWT authorization, sorry, JWT access token. For that, I am going to execute the our old mutation query that going to deliver us access token. So let's fetch the access token. So here I got access token. Okay, copy that and come to this tab. Here in the HTTP headers tab, see, select this one, HTTP headers tab. Here I will add one header like authorization. Okay, here I need to paste the my access token and we need to prefix our access token with a keyword like barrier, because our schema is barrier, right? So we need to prefix our access token with barrier by separating them with a space. Okay, now let's try to execute this query with JWT access token as the authorization to our request. Okay, see now. Now we are able to get the welcome everyone, like that we are able to get. So we have successfully achieved or consumed secured authentication using, sorry, secured endpoint using JWT access token as the authorization header. Now we need to dig deep into the different authorization techniques that .NET provide and those techniques how we can be used in GraphQL as well. Okay. First technique I want to discuss about is role based. I think most of them are aware of the role based. Role based is nothing but the like a power to the user. like is a admin user or a super user or super admin user, like that roles will be specified, means that specified user roles will have some set of access to the endpoint. Okay, some set of roles don't have some accesses. So it is very helpful to define the roles for the each and every user. Okay? Let's first register our resolver with some roles. Okay, for that we can pass this authorization is a overloaded method. Here we can pass roles like with a new property, array of new property, and here we can specify the roles. Like I can specify super admins only can access this uh, endpoints. Let's save this. Okay, let's save this and let's once reload the application and try to execute the query with our access token as in the authorization header. See, we are still getting error because we are passing the header authorization header, but here we are don't have the role. For me, don't have the role. How can I know that I don't have role? Because in while creating my token, I am not specifying any roles, not specifying any roles. So if you observe here, we are not adding any claims uh, while creating our JWT token. So let's write claims. Here I want to mention that for a user, everything is claim. Claim is nothing but key and value. So in that, framework can understand roles type of claims because their key is fixed roles. So framework can differentiate the roles as roles value that are added to the user claims. So here I will write like claims. Yeah, array of claim. So inside of it, we can write claims like value. So claim types dot roles. So this is the fixed key per role. So here I am adding a role like user. Okay. So let's include this here for demo purpose. I am statically adding for the user. In real-time application, along with the users, you can fetch the roles or his claims from the database that are related to the user ID. Okay, for demo purpose, I am statically writing the roles claim here. So here we will have an option to pass claims. Okay, here you can pass claims. So now claims value will be encrypted into the JWT token. And now let's import here and add one more role like user. So if any access token that contains role like either super admin or user or at least one role that is specified in the roles array, then framework can allow them to consume the uh, response API. So here we have registered user and super admin, right? And in my user creation, I have a role like user. So now I can, what I can say, I can consume the GraphQL endpoint. For that, let's save everything and reload the page. Since we have updated our JWT token with claims, right? So let's fetch the new one, new token. So copy the token, and paste it over here. See, now I am able to access. Previously, it is rejected when we have only super admin that is registered in the roles array. Now we have couple of registered array in this authorization array. So I have user role, right? So I am capable to consume this endpoint. So this is how roles will work in the GraphQL endpoint. Now, next. Another way of authorization is policy-based roles authorization. Policy-based is nothing but policy means grouping. So in this policy-based implementation, we can group uh, set of roles into group, and at least one role in the group is matched with our authentication token role, then that user has been allowed by the server to consume the endpoint. Okay, for that we need to register policies in the startup service. Startup class, we need to write the services here. Service like services dot add authorization service. Inside of it, let's create options, and in options dot add policy. Here I can specify my policy name like role policy. Okay, I can specify the uh, policy, and I can specify the my policy means grouping my roles. For that, policy dot require roles. Okay, here I can specify the array of my roles. So what I will do, I will copy from my query object simply. Okay, where is query object? I will copy this array of roles and paste it over in startup. So now I can simply register this policy is enough in the code. Okay. So further go here, and here it will have another overloaded method like which accepts the policy name. So let's save it and test it again whether it is working or not. So let's save it and test it again. So let's save it and test it again whether it is working or not. For that, since it is already this access token already contains user role, so let's execute this. So working. So to confirm it, just we will remove user role from the startup. So just to verify it, it is working perfectly. Now I need to get a rejected response. So let's reload. And if I execute, say I'm getting rejected. If I re-enable the user role, I can able to consume the endpoint. Consuming. So this is a policy-based roles authorization is enabled. Now one more technique is like claims-based authorization. So claims-based is should follow the should depend on policy only. It cannot simply write like array of claims directly in the authorized attribute where we go to query object. Here we have written array of roles, right? Like that we cannot write array of claims here. Okay. So claims will always dependent on policy. So for claims we need to create a policy for the claims. So for that what I can do, I'll go to startup. I will write one more options dot add policy, and I will write like claims policy. Okay, and here policy dot where claim. Okay, here I can specify first parameter is my claim name. My claim name I will use is like user country, my claim name, and its values are like India or USA. Okay, so these are my claims. So either when the user having user country claim, and either at least one of its value, either he is a user that having user country claim, and his value either India or USA can access our secured endpoint. Okay. For that, what we will do, we will register this policy name here, query object. So I am replacing the roles policy with claims policy. Okay, now I should get rejected because I don't have this claim. Okay, you what claim? User country claim I don't have. This claim I don't have. Okay, so let's test it. See, I got rejected. Let's add the user country claim. Okay, Control P and go to our mutation. Here I am going to add one more claim like new claim. Okay, my custom claim key name, user country, and I am from India. So let's save it. So now let's generate first new access token. Okay. I think it is project is building. Sorry. Let's save it again. I think it should run. Okay. Let's get new access token. So let's copy this access token. Since this access token now contain claim like user country and its value, one of its value is India. That value is satisfying the one of the value that claims has registered for the claims policy. So in the header, so paste it over here. Now I should able to access the endpoint. So that is how claim based authorization works in the GraphQL. Finally, in this video, what we have discussed how to verify the JWT access token, and also we have different techniques of authorization can be integrated into the GraphQL. We have discussed. So that's all about this video. I think this video has delivered some useful information. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. I will meet you again with a new video soon. Until then, signing off.